Welcome into Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast. We appreciate everyone tuning in whenever and however you're watching or listening, whether it's right now live on Facebook, YouTube, or listen to our archive on either of those platforms or Spotify. Hard to believe we're just a week and a half from first pitch. Nothing screams baseball like a foot of snow, right? But tonight we're catching up with former East Carolina pitcher Jake Hunter. But before we welcome Jake to the show, let me welcome in my co-host, John, better known as Wool White. Wool, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Bubba. And great to have Jake on here, start talking some baseball. Although it is pretty chilly out, it's never too early to talk a little baseball. So thank you.
Yeah, how much snow did you guys end up getting down in Morrisville?
We ended up with about 3 inches. We were in the zone of everything around us was a lot more, and we were kind of in this protected zone, so it wasn't bad compared to the rest of compared to Greenville, New Bern, Outer Banks area, and your area. We kind of felt a little jealous that we didn't get more than we did.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember us talking about that a few days ago when all this was unfolding. But I know you said you wish you got a little more. But without any further ado, let's welcome in the man that makes a home in Greenville as well as Northern Virginia. And that is Johnny Roberts. And JR, how are you?
Hey, what's up, fellas? John said he felt cheated. So do I, because, if it's going to snow, at least give us enough snow to have some fun in. But, hey, I got good news. It doesn't mean anything because we're like 10 days out, but I looked at the weather forecast for the 13th, 14th, and 15th at Clark LeClaire, and it says 61, 60, and 56 for those 3 days with 0% chance of rain. Now, that'll probably never happen, but that's a good start.
Yeah, when you put that in our group text earlier this evening, that was definitely a pleasant sight, and hopefully it holds true. Who knows? 10 days out though, but without any further ado, let's welcome in a guy that is from my neck of the woods. I've been in Rowan County, China Grove specifically, for about the last 15 years. Originally from Lexington, a guy that pitched at East Rowan, of course, wrapped up his ECU career last season, and that is Jake Hunter. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hope everyone's doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate 45 or so minutes of your time. Of course, as we were discussing off the air yesterday, you will be reporting down to Florida, I guess, the beginning of next week. So with, I'm sure, a lot to do between now and then. Appreciate you making some time to come on the show. But just take us back to, I guess, probably right around COVID, give or take. You had a very successful high school career, East Rowan, very rich baseball tradition, and you were playing for Coach Brett Hatley, and then also your pitching coach is a guy that I was very familiar with, Ethan Free. But talk about those days playing for the Mustangs and growing up in such a rich baseball community.
Right. So obviously, Rowan County, as you know, is pretty rich in baseball. We had my senior year. Well, I guess we'll go back to COVID. So we had, I think it was 2019 was my sophomore year. I just finished up having a great season. Lost the second round of the playoffs, and then COVID hit my junior year. Luckily, I was already committed at that point to ECU, so I didn't really have too much to worry about in terms of like the recruiting process at that point. So pretty grateful for that. But yeah, COVID kind of sucked for everybody. For high school, and we played 9 games that year, and I think we might have lost 1 game or we were undefeated that year. And then my senior year, we only had to play 15 or 16 games. And my senior year, we had me, Cameron Padgett, who plays at University of Chapel Hill, Chance Mako, who was a MLB prospect at that time, went to NC State, went to Coastal, now is at Gardner Webb. Our shortstop was Cobb Hightower, who got drafted 3rd round to the Padres. And we had some more like junior college kids on that team, so we we definitely thought we could have made a run, but fortunately we lost second round my senior year. But yeah, COVID was. I think it definitely took away some big East Rowan runs there from that span.
Hey, Bubba, I just wanted to quickly say to Jake, at last year's baseball banquet, speaking of COVID, that was one of the funniest stories I'd ever heard. What you told the story about taking. I don't want to. You want to say it real quick because I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, so I took obviously COVID. You could take online classes, and you could. So I was like, okay, I'll take some college courses through like the local junior college. So I took public speaking, which was online, but we didn't actually speak. Like we didn't speak into our cameras. We just wrote like a speech. So it'd be like a page, and it was like the easiest class of all time, and I got a college credit for it. So it did not help in my public speaking at all.
Well, you did well nonetheless. That was a very well received speech that you gave last year.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when you were in high school, did you play any other positions? I know I see you played shortstop at one time. But other than pitching, when did it come to fruition that you were going to be a pitcher only, or did you do both things?
Yeah. So in high school, I actually played second base up until my senior year, which was kind of weird for someone my size to be playing second base at the varsity level in high school. But my senior year, I ended up playing first base. I was probably an average high school hitter. I just struck out a lot, but I mean I had some pop, so enough to stay in the lineup, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I also saw where you pitched a no hitter in a playoff game. Is that what I read?
I did. I think it was 2019 in the first round. It was against Tuscola. It was the second year in a row we had played them, and I pitched against them both times. But yeah, that was a fun game. I can't remember who they had throwing, but they came in there kind of like on edge about them. Yeah, they had to match up with us twice, and then obviously I threw a no hitter against them, which was kind of fun. Only one in my career, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, growing up and playing in such a baseball rich area and then having success like you did, tell us about your recruitment. How did that get started with ECU? I know we referenced it somewhat, but I mean, just how that, whether it was Coach Godwin, Austin Knight, or I guess perhaps Jason Dietrich at the time. Who were those first coaches you were talking to?
Yeah, so actually I got recruited under Dan Roselle, the one
So
before
Roselle.
Dietrich.
Yep.
I was his last guy. But yeah, I talked to pretty much every North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina schools. Obviously, because right before COVID had the big year, and so I was pretty fortunate to be kind of an early bloomer. Kind of didn't have to worry about that with COVID, like I said. But yeah, I talked to I think my first phone call was with Palumbo, and then next day I talked to Roselle, and then I was actually pitching the next day, and they were like, "Hey, Coach Godwin's going to come watch you." And then we played. It was down in Georgia. We played. I pitched pretty well. Coach Godwin called me after the game. Offered me a scholarship or whatever, and I took it on the spot because, I mean, I had been to some games before. Both my parents went to ECU. I'd been to some camps, so it just felt right to kind of keep that going on.
Yeah, obviously, speaking of rich baseball traditions, East Carolina, that area, as you know, Greenville was very similar to this area, if not more so, as far as the way they hold baseball in such high esteem. And you grow up playing it from a very early age, and it's a big deal down in Elm Street. I'm sure you had a chance to get down there, as well as some of the others in the Greenville area during your time as a Pirate.
That Little League field is crazy. I'm I only wish I could play on something like that when I was little instead of playing at no offense to the Rockwool East Rowan
Yeah.
Diamond Sports, but that place is something else.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one thing that when I got to Greenville that I noticed right away of was the kids that played and the excitement from all the young people around that area and how they grew up in baseball, and then playing for the Pirates was a big deal, and it just seemed a lot different from when I grew up in Gaston County. So totally agree. Is that how you felt when you first got there, Jake?
I actually think that East Rowan, like that area, that neck of the woods, North Carolina, it feels pretty similar to Greenville. So I really wasn't. I mean, obviously ECU's a lot bigger scale, but it really isn't that much different in terms of the expectations and the I guess the pressure of it all. Because I mean, we were kind of expected, especially when you have 3 Division I top 25 program pitchers in your high school. Like you're kind of expected to compete for a state championship, which we didn't do when I was there. But I mean, it definitely on a bigger scale for Greenville. It's I've never been to a place in a college place that's been anything like it.
Yeah, not to go down too big of a rabbit hole or get on a tangent here, but as far as your East Rowan experience, I guess we're all 4 of your years for Coach Hatley.
I had 2 years under Hightower.
Okay, I was trying to remember when Coach Hightower, when his time came to an end there, a very highly successful tenure before, and of course then he became part of the school board and is now back at East Rowan as the athletic director,
Yep.
doing a solid job. But of course, you referenced his son Cobb, that is now in the Padres organization. We'll see where he starts off this year. But you kind of fast forwarding into your East Carolina experience, you come in, have the opportunity, and just right off the bat to earn a spot in the weekend rotation. But what was it like that initial fall? Like you mentioned, East Rowan works hard, but how did that transition go into the ECU program with Mission Week and everything that takes place in the fall?
Yeah, so I would say in high school I didn't really work out, or I would say I was not a very hard worker. I think it just kind of came naturally to me, and then I always knew that once we got on the field, like I could compete with guys that were much older than me. But physically, I was definitely way behind with the fall, so it really crushed me. That was a tough fall with the the conditioning test, and the Mission Week is some people say you look forward to it as the years go on. I always dreaded it. It was not. I'm not the most physically in shape human. I'm not good at certain things with that. I was always picked in the last round, if not last. But I mean, my teammates knew what they were going to get out of me. It was going to be I was going to bring the good vibes and probably not help out much with their physical needs, but I was going to help them out with the vibes.
I think one of the common themes we've seen with everybody that we've interviewed or talked to from the Pirates is that fall is a wake up call. And yeah, you want to compete and you want to do this and you feel like you can compete, but it's a different level that is expected from Coach Godwin. Is that how you felt as well?
Yeah, I actually played very well in that fall. I think I really only had one bad outing, and then every other outing was, I mean, pretty great, which obviously helped propel me to throw a lot of innings that year. Obviously, it was a kind of a funky year with the the rotation and everything, but yeah, Coach Godwin, he expects a lot out of you, but he only does it out of love. Like he's not going to coach you hard if he doesn't believe in you. You see that firsthand, and it kind of took me probably until my next year to realize that. But yeah, he definitely will get the best out of his players for sure.
Yeah, so in that first season, as I mentioned, you had the opportunity to pitch and pitch well right off the bat. Something that the 3 of us were talking about in the last couple of days, knowing that we're going to be talking to you tonight, Jake, is how well you pitched against the Tar Heels. and I think you pitched against them 4 times, and I think 2 of those starts, the first of which was in that 2022 season. We had dropped the first 2 games of the series, and I think started the year 1-5. But I think that was our first win, perhaps, where we took in what was a very cold Clark LeClaire Stadium that night. I think you went 3 1/3.
Yeah. Obviously, we
What are your
didn't.
memories? What are your memories of that one?
Yeah, we didn't get off to a great start of the season. I think our first win was Campbell in the midweek. I'm pretty sure Spivey pitched that game. Yeah, I was the only thing I really remember was that it was cold, super cold. I talked to another guy from Rowan County. I was talking to Vance Honeycutt before the game. I remember that. Just catching up. I hadn't talked to him in the past year or so, but yeah, I remember it was cold. I wasn't really nervous or anything. I think I always felt the bigger the crowd, the bigger the moment, the better I played. I didn't really feel pressure in terms of that. I think that if you're a competitor, you don't really feel the juices and all that. Now, obviously, like the adrenaline will get to you, but I think I do a pretty good job of controlling
Yeah.
that. Yeah, in-state games, they're always fun. Them, NC State, Duke, Campbell, UNCW, they're always fun because you're playing against guys you played against, in travel ball and stuff like that. So it's always fun to play those games.
Hey, Bob, I have a couple stats for Jake here. First of all, against UNC, 11.2 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs for 153 ERA and 11 strikeouts. But the funny thing is, really, you said that, Pirates didn't get off to a good start. Well, that was never on you because in the month of February, all 4 of your seasons, if you take every game that you played in February, which was a total of 10 appearances, you had a 1.01 ERA. It was crazy. Like Jake, it was 26.2 innings is what you pitched. Only allowed 13 hits, 26 strikeouts, and a 1.01 ERA. So, most pitchers dread the cold weather, but I don't know if you even realized it at the time, but clearly that didn't affect you negatively one bit. Actually, it seemed like it made you pitch better.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that. I guess, I wish I could have had a 1.05 ERA for every month. That would have been cool.
That's Johnny Stats, our man there.
I got one more too. You were also very good on Saturdays. You were 4-0 with 1 save and a 2.25 ERA. And those February numbers, I said 10 appearances. That includes 4 against the Tar Heels and 1 against Duke. So you weren't playing, like GW and Bryant or anything like. You were playing good competition in February, but you just weren't giving up anything. So appreciate that.
And one of the things that I've wrote down here, and I didn't even have to write it down. I've watched you pitch. Is the fact that I felt like when you came in a game, you just had this calm force. Even if you started a game, came in a game late, whatever the role you had to play, you had this little calm look to me, kind of under control on the mound. Like you mentioned, you do have an adrenaline rush, but you seem to have been very under control and calm. And I called it the calming force. And I've told Johnny and Bubba that even before we set this call up. So is that kind of something you brought to the table, that calm force, and it helped drive you here?
Yeah, I think that you have guys that can kind of make the moment a little bit too big, and he kind of gets away from them. And then you also have guys that can make the moment too small. And in baseball, it's one on one. Me versus you. And I really honestly it's all about finding who you are as a person. Like off the field, I'm a pretty relaxed individual. I'm not gonna jump up and down and scream, and I'm kind of just gonna sit down, watch some TV, play some video games. So I think being calm in the moments and taking deep breaths, it definitely helps. Both sides, hitting, pitching, fielding, like you're not going to be at your best if, the game's really sped up.
Yeah, and I particularly saw that last year when you were pitching. I noticed it right off that when you were depending on whatever you had to do. So that's my next question. So basically, last year you were called on to do a bunch of different things. Your role was different. It seemed like every week you might be long relief, might be short relief. You may have to start something. So when you are in that mindset and your preparation week, how's that different compared to when you're a weekend starter and you know that role is going to be your role from the get go? Let's just Ethan, for example, he knows he's going to be a Friday starter. So how do you prepare for not really knowing if you're going to be long relief, short relief, start that week?
Yeah. Honestly, you just kind of, you know, you don't really have a routine, to be honest, because I mean, you didn't really know if I was going to throw on Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So, it's one of those deals where you kind of, in the non-game days, kind of save your bullets, and you kind of hope that you wake up and see if the arm feels good that day. If it does, you go tell coach, "Hey, I'm feeling good today," and then hopefully he puts you in the game. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's like in a situation like that, you can't really have a strong routine. You kind of just gotta be able to go with the flow of the game, of the season. Like you said, I had a bunch of different roles, which we kind of needed me to have last year. But yeah, you just kind of got to go with the flow.
Jake, a few minutes ago, you referenced just your growth and the maturation process, your relationship with Coach Godwin. I mentioned we've talked about the prominent role you had on that 2022 team. And some adversity toward the tail end of that season, but then um, you moved on from that, and then you had an excellent career in 2023. You appeared in 22 games, primarily in relief. I think you started 4. And then, so what are your memories of that sophomore season coming off of a frustrating end to 2022?
Yeah, I knew that I had to get into better shape. I knew I needed to, get better physically. I think the mental side of it and the talent side I had, and I think we all knew that. So yeah, I kind of just worked on my body that whole season. I actually had a worse fall in 2022. So my sophomore fall, I actually kind of thought I was going to get cut or told to go somewhere else. I had like a 20 something ERA and couldn't get anybody out to save my life. So bad I didn't pitch in any of the fall. The games we played against like Clemson and Virginia. I didn't play in any of those games. Kind of didn't play in February. I think I pitched an inning or two here and there. But as the season kept going, I kept getting, more confident, better. Started getting some more results. Ended up having a pretty good year until I think Clearwater got me again. Really struggled there for some reason. But that year was, you definitely learned a lot about yourself that fall. Kind of struggling. First time in my life I really struggled. And then going into that spring, not really having a role, finding a role, thriving in the role. And then I didn't finish as strong as I wanted to, but it was overall a good year.
Hey, speaking of 23, Bubba, I wanted to quickly ask Jake. He said he'd like to lighten up the moment, during, when things were tough, and he likes to go with the flow. Well, what about you pitched on a Tuesday night in 23 against NC State, and then we had a doubleheader against Central Florida. You knew you weren't going to pitch. So what happened between pitching changes there for UCF? I mean, that just ignited you to do what you did.
Yeah. I don't really know, to be honest. I think, I wouldn't say I was chosen, or peer pressured, but it was kind of like, it just kind of happened. I'm not one to sit down during the games. I like to kind of pace and walk around and watch the game. And I just, during pitching changes, even my first year, I would just stand out on the field and like, just look around. And then got more confident in myself, apparently. And I always knew I could dance a little bit, but I didn't expect it to kind of take off like that.
The crowd loved it, especially like the funky worm that you were doing. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like you did something different, which
Yeah,
is,
I tried to mix it up.
yeah, well done.
Yeah, now it seems as though Ryan Towers, who we're excited to see on the mound for the first time after transferring in prior to last season from Loyola Marymount, he's taken over that role in between innings.
Yeah. I think I told Davin Whitaker to do it last year, or maybe it was the year before Davin did it. I think it was the year before Davin did it, and then he passed it on to Towers last year. That's definitely much more of Ryan's attitude, I guess. He's very
Kind of a
definitely
hang
very
loose
outgoing.
California or West Coast personality.
No, he is very much. He's from Maryland. He's actually from Maryland, but
Okay,
he is very outgoing, very personable. So it definitely suits him pretty well.
gotcha. But following that 2023 season, you mentioned that it didn't necessarily finish the way you would have liked, but you went up. The Pirates over the last few years have put a player with the Newport Gulls in the New England Collegiate League, and you pitch very well up there. I think 5-1 with the ERA of less than 1, and then of course Dixon the following summer, and then Colby last summer. What are your memories of playing up in Newport, Rhode Island?
Yeah, it was the only year I did summer ball, and it was a blast. I mean, it feels like you're a little kid again. You kind of away from everyone. I don't want to say away from the pressure, but it's kind of all on you. You kind of get to do whatever you want. It's so much fun. I had a blast in Newport. I had a great host family. Obviously, I played well. I wanted to go into that summer and kind of prove to Coach Godwin and AK that I could start the next year. But yeah, it was so much fun. The only thing I didn't really enjoy was the games ending in Martha's Vineyard at about 1 a.m. and then you got to take a little fishing boat back. It's like a 30-minute ride with 30 guys on this tiny boat. The food's terrible, but it's fun. It's fun.
I'm surprised to hear you say the food's terrible, but just some pictures that I've seen, videos on social media and so forth. It looks beautiful up there with the old ballpark that kind of like some that you may have around here. Not so much anymore, but I know growing up, you're familiar with what I'm referencing at Catawba.
Mm-hmm.
Very very neat old ballpark there.
Yeah, it was definitely the best stadium by far in the league. There was one in Connecticut that was okay, but no, it's definitely a cool place to play. Probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to Newport fully paid for and pretty much be on vacation for 2 or 3 months up in Newport.
So a few minutes ago, you talked about Vance Honeycutt, also a Rowan County kid, Salisbury High School, and been a 2 sports star. And in that 24 season, to start things out, and the Pirates were looking to, I guess, either take the series or maybe even sweep the Tar Heels. I think it was taking the series, and we were up 4-0 in the middle innings, and then all of a sudden things went crazy. But you had an excellent start that day and struck out Vance a couple times, and I remember him glancing out toward the mound, and y'all made eye contact, and he just shaking his head laughing.
Yeah, we played Little League together, and then we played high school travel ball together. I tell him this a lot, but I actually would DH for him and travel ball a lot, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, he's a good dude. We still talk every once in a while. Crazy that he had a great career in Carolina. I always had fun playing against him. It was always fun to talk trash to each other. I don't think he got a hit off me in college. He might have got one, but great player, great guy. He's definitely a good friend.
Did you ever have to pinch run for him?
No, that was never the case.
His speed was definitely off the charts.
Yeah, it always has been.
Yeah, Ryan threw him out that series. I think it was game 2.
Ryan McChrystal had a cannon. That's for sure. He definitely had a cannon.
Yeah, I asked
So
him about that and shorten his arm motion from the behind the plate. He said, I'd like to get the ball there. So he really didn't shorten his arm up because he had such a strong arm. So he mentioned that in the interview we had with him.
Yeah, he definitely liked that long arm action. Sometimes he would sail it right into Riley's glove in center field, but no, Ryan probably had the best arm on the team.
So later on, Jake, in that 2024 season, you unfortunately sustained the injury out at Memphis, I believe it was. And tell us about that process in as much or as little detail as you care to share. But you were able to have the internal brace, and which is, I think, also the situation with Ryan Towers, and it was a pleasant surprise when you were available last year, so early in the season.
Yeah, so tore it Sunday at Memphis. It had been bothering me for about probably 2 months or so, really after the Carolina game, honestly. Elbow just didn't feel the same, didn't feel right. Kind of just was like, whatever, gonna play through it. It was, my so-called draft year or whatever. And then didn't, it tore it at Memphis. It was the best I'd felt in months was that day, which,
Well, you threw really well that day. I think you went 2.2 and only allowed one hit and struck out 4.
yeah, it was definitely, that's what they say is it usually happens the day that you feel the best and after a few months of it hurting, which is always just so ironic. Um, really wasn't that painful. It's kind of one of those things that you just kind of know it happened. So got it looked at. Um, got in touch with Dr. Meister down in Texas, who's the Rangers orthopedic surgeon. He got me down there it was June. Fully planning on getting the full reconstruction, be out for the 12, 14 months. Maybe needing a red shirt last year, maybe not. Everything was still kind of up in the air at that point. And then got done with the surgery, woke up, and he was like, "Yeah, everything looked a lot better than what we thought. So you just needed the brace, and it's going to be 6 to 8 months or 8 to 10 months. Kind of depends on what you kind of want to choose. But yeah, and then I really had 1 or 2 setbacks that last fall with the rehab, and then told Coach Godwin I actually told Coach Godwin I got back to Greenville in July that I was gonna be available for the first weekend. He didn't believe me, but yeah, it ended up working out. I think it was like 7.5 months. So I was definitely grateful to only have a lesser injury than what everyone thought.
Hey, Jake,
Yeah, I thought the same thing that Coach Godwin did. I was surprised that you got back that quick. I was wondering, you had your degree is in what, exercise physiology?
Yeah.
Did that play any role in helping you rehab quicker?
I think it definitely helps knowing kind of the terminology of it all. I worked with Kevin Youngs a lot. So, I mean, obviously kind of having the sports, science background, I was able to, kind of bounce some ideas off of him. He was able to kind of tell me more in depth of what I was needing to do. Same with the athletic trainer, Hunter Martin. Just kind of, I think it definitely helped for sure with the rehab process.
Yeah. Hey, before we wrap up 24, I know we're running out of time here, so I'll be quick. Jake, at the end of the 24 season, we were on the cusp of a super regional, but we just ran out of pitching. I mean, and how hard was it for you to sit there and not be able to contribute, knowing that you could have been a huge difference maker? Huge.
Yeah. Obviously, I think I got hurt after Root and Shankman got hurt. I know we were all within a week. I don't know the record after that, but it definitely was not nearly as good as what it was before. But they were able to come back, and I wasn't. But yeah, the regional was tough to watch. Kind of, I didn't get to throw in it my freshman year. Sophomore year, I only threw some non-important innings. So I hadn't really gotten to, I guess, make a name and like etch myself into some some Pirate history. So yeah, it was definitely tough. I was actually gone. I was on the plane to go get my surgery for that Monday game against Evansville, so I didn't get to watch it. So when I landed, I saw the final score. Yeah, definitely hurts to know that I didn't get to play in front of, a Greenville regional. I only got to watch.
Well, we missed you for sure.
So, in that senior season that we've already discussed a little bit, that you had so many appearances, so many different roles, a couple of specific games I wanted to have you mention. One, that Rice game. I told you we had to focus on that at bat and the hit and how swiftly you got out of the box and then also how well you pitched down in Conway against the Florida Gators and your memories of that.
Yeah, Rice was that was a tricky one. I think we didn't have a good start, I'm pretty sure, and then Ethan Young pitched for a while, and then Seawall. I came in for Seawall in the 9th in a pretty tricky situation because I wasn't supposed to pitch that day, and then obviously got out of the jam, and then it was what was it the I think it was the top of the 11th or something. My spot was up, and they were like, "Hey, there's a chance you might hit," because we had one pinch hitter left. We had Kalinich left to hit. And I don't know who we had down in the bullpen. But I felt kind of bad for him because they'd been warming up for a while, just in case like this had happened. And he was like, "Hey, you're only going to hit if there's 2 outs, and, like the runner's not in scoring position or something." I was like, "Okay." Sure enough, I got up to bat, and I hadn't swung a bat in so long. Took the first fastball right down the middle. I should have swung it down. That was the one to hit. And then the next one was he threw me another fastball, thankfully. If you'd have thrown me anything else, I would have looked so bad. But yeah, threw me an outside fastball, took it that way, got out the box good, ran the bases good, scored the run, closed out the game. That was fun. And now I get to say I have the highest batting average in the history of Division I college baseball.
And you know what? You had a perfect fielding percentage as well. You were 1,000 fielding through your career at ECU. So
yeah, I think you don't get. I don't think you can get an error for pickoffs. I think I've thrown a few pickoffs away, but yeah, 1,000 is another thing. And then the Florida game, I came in the first game against Florida, gave up a home run to Bozer, who I'd played at South Florida for 4 years or 3 years, however long it'd been. And then the second game, yeah, I really wasn't feeling good that day. Obviously, we had to win 2 games that day. I only won 1, but yeah, that was fun to kind of end my, my career at ECU in that type of way. Kind of the storybook ending that I wanted. I wish it was in front of, I wish it was in Clark LeClaire. Yeah, going up against Florida, like that's a team you kind of know about it. You tell your grandkids, "Hey, yeah, I closed out Florida 4 or 5 innings, my senior year in college." Yeah, that was probably the most fun game I'd ever pitched in.
Yeah, you mentioned how you didn't feel particularly well that day, and I think that was kind of a common theme across the team. But Coach O'Sullivan, he woke you guys up.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was doing. We had just come from a long game the night before. Had to wake up early. And then I really don't know why he was trying to pick a fight. We didn't even there wasn't anything going on in the first game that warranted a fight. And then he obviously does that. And then little known, their backup shortstop or their injured shortstop started yelling at us pitchers during their BP or their infield outfield or whatever, which was I really don't know what was going on with them that day, but they honestly probably would have just been quiet. I don't know if we would have shown up to play the way we did. But I mean, I guess thanks. It was always fun to send the SEC home pack in 0-2.
Did we lose Bubba? Did we lose Bubba there?
I think we did.
Well, I was going to tell Jake.
You got me
He
now?
has the highest batting average. I had the lowest. I failed in my one attempt at East Carolina. I grounded out to third base.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
I think Parker Bird has you tied, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's also 1,000%.
Yeah, I think he is. That's okay. I'll share it with Parker.
Yeah, no doubt,
There
no
you
doubt.
go.
Well,
Yep.
speaking of Parker, I was muted and didn't realize it, but that was perhaps one of the funniest things about that whole situation in Conway with Kevin O'Sullivan is just how calmly, Parker just said, he said, "Coach," he said, "well, we are ready." He said, "but I'm not even on the roster."
Yeah, Parker's he's a funny dude. Funny dude.
But
Hey, are we gonna have to
but
have a second show with Jake to get to the
no,
next?
we're good. We're good. I'll let you guys carry on without me here in about 5 minutes. But Jake, following that season, you, of course, you got an opportunity to pitch up in Frederick at the MLB Draft League. 4-0, 2.62 ERA. After throwing 59 innings at ECU, you threw 55 up there at Frederick. Struck out 69. Had a strikeout to free pass ratio of well over 3.5 to 1, and earned yourself an opportunity at the Minnesota Twins. So, what are your memories of Frederick, and then, of course, signing with the Twins?
Yeah, it was one of those deals. It was actually on my birthday this past year. I didn't even know that the MLB Draft League was a thing. And my agent had, he had asked me, or my advisor at that time had asked me, like, hey, if you're wanting to give this, professional baseball thing a shot, you're gonna need to get yourself in a summer league to keep playing. Um, so got in touch with the director of it all. Able to get a spot in Frederick. Loved Frederick. Cool town. Um, Draft league was awesome. I had a blast. Met a lot of new friends, new faces. Kind of similar to just regular summer ball, to be honest. Um, First half is only for draft eligible players, so it's high schoolers, um, college juniors, and college seniors. And so I actually had roomed with a high schooler who's at Texas now. So it's definitely a little bit different than a normal summer ball. And then the second half was all players who had exhausted all eligibility or like foreign players. So we had a lot of Hispanics on our team that had come from Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and getting to learn their culture and stuff was actually pretty neat. And then the way they do it is the manager is always an MLB player. He had played in the MLB, and then our pitching coach was actually in the major leagues until like 2022 or 2023. So he's a pretty young guy. So he helped me a lot this summer with the with some mechanical stuff, some grips, and then I'd heard a little bit from teams and during the draft. Hey, we might pick you here. We might sign you for this. And it never came. And then obviously you got to keep playing if you want a chance at it. And fortunate to get that chance with Minnesota.
Yeah, and I read some things where you had an uptick in velocity, and I was just reading, and I was just wondering if that did the coaching helped with that, or did that actually happen? Because I know a lot of people will say stuff, but I just wanted to know if that was a key factor in helping you develop in that league.
I think it's definitely more of the I wouldn't say
Mechanic.
it was the coaching. It was definitely the routine, I guess. I was
Hmm.
able to start there, and kind of the pitch count isn't as high. The toll of the day to day isn't as high. It's not really team baseball. Like you're not really having practice.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the professional aspect of it helped in terms of not really having to do extra throwing. I guess I definitely don't recover well, which is something I need to figure out. But yeah, I had a little uptick in velocity. Definitely helped with the getting an affiliate chance. but I wouldn't say necessarily it was the coaches.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I did read that, and then all of a sudden, I think it was in late August, you signed with Minnesota, so that was impressive, and it was a lot of hard work you gave to East Carolina last year, and I know all that hard work led you to where you are now, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Jake, where were you when you got the news that the Twins wanted to sign you?
So I had a really good game in July. I don't remember. I know it was in Trenton, New Jersey. Had a really good game. Heard from them then, and then it was nothing for a month. And then I pitched in it was like Kids Day or something at Penn State. It was like 10 a.m. It was awful. It was the worst thing ever. We had just came in from a long trip, so we didn't get in the hotel until about 4 a.m. And we had a game at 10. So I pitched that day, and then the next day I was doing my lift and then getting treatment. So I'd actually missed the phone call 10 times. I had 10 missed phone calls from the number. I was like, oh, goodness. So called him back. So, yeah, I was in Penn State, and then we had a game that night, and we were leaving that night. So then I had to stay for the game because they were my only way back home. So that was interesting. That was an interesting thing to kind of be around your teammates when obviously they were happy for me, but I'm sure there was definitely some not jealousy, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so before we get to the speed round, JR, Jake, so where are you going down in Florida? Can you, and when are you leaving?
I leave Monday, the 9th. We go to Fort Myers.
Yep. Fort
Hey,
Myers. I remember Joe Mauer being down there in Fort Myers. So the Twins are down there. Yep. Go ahead, Bubba. Or JR, sorry.
No, I was just going to say before we take Frederick off the table, did you get a chance? I know you were busy playing baseball and extending your professional career and all that, but did you have a chance to enjoy the old Fredericktown, old area with the brick roads and all the old buildings? And
I walked around it, I think twice. I drove through it. It kind of reminds me of home. It really looks like Salisbury a lot.
Yeah. You know what I love? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think I stopped and ate down there. But I walked through it. It's definitely neat. It's very nice and old and not dirty at all. It's just like a nice town.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, my next question was, did you get a chance to try Roy Rogers roast beef when you were down there? Up there?
No, I didn't know what they were. And there were a bunch of them, and I wasn't comfortable. I didn't branch out to any new places.
Yeah. In Virginia, we travel miles to find a Roy Rogers, but you got 5 of them in Frederick. I think their headquarters are there, and it's
it was
good stuff.
I don't think I saw anybody actually eat it at all. I don't think anyone really knew what it was. I still don't know what they serve. I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, if you ever get up there again, you gotta check it out. And then with Frederick, the last thing I was going to say is, I know you're a Braves fan, aren't you? Am I mistaken about that?
I don't.
But you dabble in the Orioles.
I kind of liked the Orioles. I kind of liked the Braves. I was kind of I watched baseball, but I didn't really care about a team necessarily. My girlfriend and her family are huge Orioles fans, so the past few years I've been keeping up with them. So we went to a few games in college, but I growing up, I really wasn't a huge.
Yeah.
I just
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to mention that your Harry Grove Stadium, where it's under a huge reconstruction right now because I think it had aged, pretty poorly. But they're redoing it. But Manny Machado has played there. Adam Jones, Nick Markakis, he was an Oriole and a Brave. And then Jim Palmer, he actually made a comeback at age 45 and pitched a game for the Keys. I think it was in the early 90s.
Yeah,
so a lot of history on that field.
Yeah, they still show off the Machado and all that. They definitely are holding on to that for a little bit too long, I think.
Probably so.
Yeah, what I was gonna ask here is, how about the Toronto Blue Jays this year? Did you watch that run that Trey made to the major leagues, etc.?
Yeah, I always watched the playoffs. Obviously, kind of spending 3 years with Trey, and then it's kind of hard to imagine him being a major leaguer. Um, you kind of grow up not idolizing these players, but you're like, that's Mike Trout or that's Shohei Ohtani. Like that's, and then now people are like, that's Trey Savage. I'm like, that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
Um, but obviously, super happy for him. Great guy. We had texted we texted a lot during kind of during the World Series and the playoffs. Um, Obviously, it got kind of crazy for both of us. Me getting signed right before the playoffs, and then him. I think he got called up the day after I got signed, so it was kind of cool. Um, so reached out to him during the playoffs. He didn't need to respond. I mean, I have no doubt he's busy with pitching in the World Series, which is nuts. And so yeah, I
yeah.
watched the whole run. Crazy, happy for him.
That's awesome. Teammates for that long, and then you able to see him. I have a buddy of mine who's a Yankees fan, and he said, "Who's this Trey Savage kid?" And I said, "Just wait." And that was when he delivered. I think maybe 11 strikeouts, and then he went on to the World Series, and we saw what he did in Chavez Ravine, and yeah, just incredible to watch that kind of stuff. So that was pretty cool. So
Yeah, my favorite my favorite Trey story is that our first day on campus we were throwing, and he couldn't he couldn't throw the ball to his partner. I was throwing beside him. He was throwing with Eric Ritchie because they were from Pennsylvania together, and we were maybe 20 feet from each other, and he was just spiking it to the ground. Like he couldn't play catch, which I was like, who? Like, why did we get this guy? Like, he can't even throw the ball 20 feet. He ain't gonna make it. And then now he's a major leaguer, which is yeah. So he definitely started at the bottom in my mind. Probably not in anyone else's mind, but in my mind he did.
yeah, the development. I've read that before and heard that as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see someone can develop like that, and hopefully you can move on in that territory as well. So, uh, Johnny, you got anything?
I was just going to ask Jake. I read a scouting report about you from Major League Scouts that said um, one of your attractions for Major League teams, especially the Twins, obviously, is that you have a 5-pitch arsenal. Now, you didn't used to like when you were a freshman. Weren't you like primarily fastball? Did you have?
Yeah, I didn't. When I was a freshman, I really only had a fastball. I had this slow breaking ball that I completely lost all command on. Couldn't throw it in the strike. The only thing I could throw in the strike zone was a fastball. Um, I think in college I really only threw 2 or 3 pitches every year. Um, just could never really get comfortable with anything. College season is a grind, kind of, especially when you're in a role that you might throw 5 innings this day, you might throw 1 inning. You kind of never really have time to work on different pitches. And then this summer, like I said, able to build a routine, able
And
to
yeah,
start
and that's the
mixing in
difference
mid
between
pitches.
high school and college. You can get away with a lot of fastballs in high school, but when you get to the college level, you're gonna have to develop another pitch. And
Yeah,
I'm sure Jake knows that. I don't have to tell him that he did that. So, but
yeah,
yeah, as freshman, Johnny, that is your pitch that you know the best, and then you develop as you learn that every hitter out there is going to take you, deep if you don't develop another pitch. So
Yeah. Okay. I guess my final baseball question would be: do you have any superstitions as far as game day?
um, a new one
I'm
I
not sure if we
started.
lost Jake here.
No, he's
Can
talking.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jake.
Um, yeah, I guess a new one I did this summer was I started eating chicken Alfredo chicken fettuccine Alfredo before every start. Don't really know why I did that. I think I found a good spot in Frederick and enjoyed it. But I'm not a very superstitious person. I kind of just go out there and play and let it all happen.
Well, you might be like Wade Boggs now, eating chicken every day, every game day.
Yeah.
After that, the results that you got were, pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jake, Bubba's usually does a speed round. I don't know if you have time. I don't know if you have to go or if you have a couple more minutes. So
yeah, I got some time.
Okay. So the speed round basically is he's just listed a bunch of questions for me to ask, me and Will to ask you. But before we do that, real quick, I do want to give you credit. I don't know you personally, but I do know from following Pirate baseball and from listening to you when you were appearing on Pirate Radio with Clip Brock that you are like the hardest of the hardcore Hornets fans. Like you would watch games when they were winning 13 games a year. You wouldn't miss a game. And so I just want to get your reaction to what's going on now. I mean, they're on the cusp of the playoffs, and I'm just curious how happy you are to see this, and if you were expecting this at all.
I think, yeah, obviously I'm the biggest probably Hornets fan you'll probably ever meet. I think the past few years people had kind of, didn't really pay attention to us, and honestly it was, in my opinion, we had the pieces. It was the health that was kind of the problem. It's kind of hard for a small market team to play their bench guys because then you can't really get that much depth in a small market. And then your starters are all injured. Like it just wasn't working. And then this year drafting, Knipple and, LaMelo playing a lot more and Miller playing a lot more and Bridges always plays. And then Musa Diabate. Yeah, I don't know if I saw 7 in a row ever. I definitely thought they could sneak into the play-in tournament and then maybe make the playoffs, but they're definitely building something. I don't know 100% what they're going to do with the trade deadline coming up, but they're definitely building something.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go over the final round of a speed round, I guess you'd call it? You want to do that?
Yeah.
No, Wool, do you want to ask him some questions? I don't think he can hear me. I think that's the issue. So I guess I'll do it, Wool. I mean, I'll do it, Jake, because I don't think John can hear me for whatever reason. Okay, so we're going to start off by favorite player, pitcher growing up.
Steven Strasburg.
Wow. Okay. Favorite baseball movie.
Moneyball.
Nice. Favorite place to eat in Greenville.
La Rancherita.
Nice. Another good. Okay. Favorite hobby outside of baseball.
Basketball.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, I still shoot around. I don't play in any games anymore. But I definitely still shoot around a lot. I still got the shot going.
Well, that's important. I'm much older than you, but I still shoot too because I don't ever want to stop doing that. And with your career, you can't really, get engaged into games. I mean, that would be silly because you'd be risking injury. But I'm glad to hear that you're still shooting it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, John, do you have anything? Okay, I guess it's just you and me, Jake. So thank you for coming on tonight. It was a very entertaining and insightful show. And actually, I've got like 8 more questions for a future show. So we're going to have to get you back on here.
Alrighty, sounds good.
We apologize for the technical difficulties at the end of tonight's show, but really appreciate the time of Jake Hunter. Best of luck to him in the 2026 season in the Minnesota Twins organization, and we look forward to having him back on Jungle Tales down the road. Be sure to follow us on social media at Jungle Tales Pod on X, Instagram, as well as YouTube, and you can find us on Facebook and Spotify by searching Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast.
This and every episode of Jungle Tales is brought to you by PGX Gloves. Go to pgxgloves.com today and be sure to use promo code Jungle Tales in all caps. Again, Jungle Tales in all caps with no spaces to get 25% off your order at checkout. But that will do it for this edition of the program. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Pirates.